The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was my first real gateway into cinema. I know I said Aliens was my first proper mature film I had seen, but later when my mum recommended to me this cowboy movie that was on TV, it showed me just what films are capable of, just how good they can get, just how they can enthrall you, move you, tease you, and tense you, all through simply a collection of sounds and images. Leone's works were perfectly complemented by the film composer Ennio Morricone, second to none in my opinion, whose mesmerizing catalogue of film music really bested his work with Leone. The music just takes you away at times. It always achieves its goal, whether it's simmering under the radar to generate building tension like in Lee Van Cleef and Klaus Kinski's Duel in For a Few Dollars More, evoking sympathy and tears like in the conversation between Tuco and his brother in The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. What a scene, by the way, so much raw emotion packed into 3 minutes. Or whether Morricone is quite simply delivering an epic smackdown over our ears, of which there are plenty of examples. Leone and Morricone are one of the best partnerships ever to grace the movie world. Sergio, of course, breathed life into a dying genre with his spaghetti westerns, and then gracefully drew the curtain on the genre with Once Upon a Time in the West. A Fistful of Dollars propelled him, Clint Eastwood, and Morricone into stardom. At least it made them more well known and propelled Eastwood into stardom. An unofficial remake of Kurosawa's Yojimbo, Fistful is a little rough around the edges, but the quality is on display for all to see, and Leone's remarkable talent, which he would immediately perfect with his next film. The famous wide shots, the instant close-ups, the extras, hand-picked for authenticity and characterization, the now legendary framing and shot composition, the cool, strong and silent protagonists, the iconic outfits, the music, the stories, the characters, the sense of manliness and bravado, honor and grittiness. Damn, there's so much to love with Leone. For a Few Dollars More is light years better than its predecessor, where clearly everyone involved had a better grasp of their craft. Morricone upped his game and innovatively used music that was specific to individual characters, something that would become very important in part of the story in Once Upon a Time in the West. Gian Maria Volonté returned and Lee Van Cleef was thrown into the mix, and each of the three main characters held their own against each other, and a colourful cast of supporting characters in a brilliant story of revenge and greed. Eastwood and Van Cleef is an A-grade pairing of alpha male macho-ness, and they both had great chemistry together. Having the main character in a western be a bounty hunter motivated solely by greed was unheard of for American audiences, and so was the hyper-stylized violence and sadistic bad guys. The Good, the Bad and the Ugly was the culmination of the so-called Dollars trilogy or Man with No Name trilogy, and it is an epic in every sense of the word, and one that I've usually said is my favourite film of all time, although this can flip-flop with a number of Leone pictures. The score became synonymous with westerns as a whole, and the three-way duel which acts as the climax remains one of the most tense scenes in cinematic history. Eli Wallace's Tuco is the heart of the film, a bumbling, conniving bum who is shown to be quite a complex character eventually. The budget for this one was much bigger, and is clear in the film's scope. But in spite of the film's big moments, it's the small ones that stay with you. Eastwood comforting a dying soldier, Tuco's confrontation with his brother, things like that really added to the film and gave it more heart. I heard that Leone wanted Charles Bronson or Henry Fonda for the lead in A Fistful of Dollars, but both turned it down. And subsequently, they turned down the next two movies. But by the time Leone began working on Once Upon a Time in the West, he was so popular they both agreed to be in it. And Leone utilized this by making Henry Fonda, one of America's most beloved actors, into a sadistic child murderer. I did a video on Fonda's character in the film, if you're interested, called Frank, Death of the Gunslinger. But he's just one of the few detailed and highly complex characters in this slow, delicate opera whose lengthy silence is sparingly shattered by lightning-fast violence. Leone doubles down on his trademarks in order to present this love letter to the West. Who can forget the close-up of Bronson's tear-speckled eyes in the climatic duel? It's a gorgeous picture, visual poetry. Leone directed a few scenes of the uneven but entertaining slapstick My Name is Nobody, and then made a picture called Fistful of Dynamite that he signed on to only reluctantly, as there had been behind the scenes issues and he didn't want to make the film anyway. This is considered something of a misfire for Leone, and though it's true, it doesn't reach the heights of the films around it and has some bizarre scenes, it is still a great picture, featuring Rod Steiger doing his best Tuco impression and an Irish James Coburn with a twinkle in his eye. It's a political western, focused on the Mexican Revolution. There are a few shortcomings, such as the messy pacing, but this film boasts some brilliant set pieces and shows that even when Leone wasn't interested, his creative spark was always flicked on, the on switch.